sweatshirt.
We'll include you in there, Sherlock.
Yeah. Martin's playing Esper Control, so it's a matchup which a lot of players were saying this is the good matchup, or the nightmare matchup for Mono Blue, I guess.
Right. This is the sort of the one deck that the Mono Blue Devotion deck didn't want to face. And as we're going forward, there's going to be more and more Espers. So this is the real test.
Yeah, now, to be fair, that's not the worst. We did see, in the top 8 of the Pro Tour, for example, Blue took care of, Blue deck defeated Waffle Choppa playing
Correct.
Esper. So, we'll see, though, the Blue deck, remember, this is just an you have to, don't be fooled by the islands, it's still an aggro deck.
Yes.
Starts out on Cloudfin Raptor, Judge's Familiar evolves it to a 1/2, and he gets in for the first point of damage, putting Martin down to 19.
A lot of the blue, more aggressive decks you think of as sort of counter slivers or aggro control, this one doesn't really have any of that. It's really just a swarm deck.
Yeah, it has 2 Cyclonic Rifts.
Yeah, that's its control portion of the aggro control.
Martin plays a 3rd land into play tapped. So just leaving up 2, has not played a spell yet, but representing Azorius Charm or Doomblade, has neither. So he's going to go down, but just to 17. Ramias' cards are not all that powerful, and he misses his 3rd land drop.
Ooh, that's bad, especially without the second blue Tidebinder Mages, which aren't that great in this matchup, but at least they hit the board.
Right. And right here, that Nykthos he has in play is really hurting him. As you see, Ramias draws a Thassa for the turn, but has still no more plays.
That's a pretty brutal one, too. Not only taking out the Cloudfin Raptor, and, when it comes back down, the Evolve counter will be gone, but also depriving Jason of one more shot at a land.
I think Jason got a little ahead of himself. Last turn, that swing was safe, because if Martin had the Azorius Charm, Judge's Familiar could knock it off.
Right.
I think you need to almost just not swing that turn, as rough as that is.
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility. And now we see that Cloudfin Raptor come back down, and Martin is pulling ahead in the land drop category, which is exactly what he wants to be doing.
I mean, right now he's making his 6th land drop, and he has 15 life points. He's got to be really happy with that situation.
Facing 1, potentially 2.
And the ever ominous, and this is, I like this, the first real play out of him is just a shock land for a turn 6 Aetherling. That's not normally what you see Esper Control do.
Right, but what's the Mono Blue deck going to do about an Aetherling?
I mean, he could bounce it maybe. He'll swing for 1, he has no way to evolve Cloudfin Raptor. And he's going to rapidly hybridize the Aetherling.
Main deck. I stand corrected.
Yeah, a couple of them, they usually have 3 or 4 Rapids post-board. We've seen a few of them play 1 or 2 in the main.
Interesting. Very interesting. Here's your Frog Lizard, kid.
Yeah, a lot of times this was in the Mono Blue decks as the way to answer problematic creatures, like particularly Pelucranos was one that the deck has a lot of trouble with.
That makes a lot of sense. Opposing Masters, maybe?
Opposing Masters are very important. So Martin doesn't care too much about the Frog Lizard token. He's going to go ahead and Supreme Verdicts the board anyway. And now Ramias is finally online with a Thassa, but he's very far behind. Martin snaps off a Detention Sphere, having
no scrying.
Yeah, he has his remaining hand is Essence Scatter, Supreme Verdict.
That's a good place to be.
And Sphinx's Revelation.
That's a really good
place. Yeah, this is a lot better of a place to be.
That last one is kind of important.
Yeah, Thassa getting Essence Scattered there. It's one of the weirder interactions.
Oh, and here we go. The Shock Land
Shock Land Go. Shock Land Go. That's always what you want to see. And Martin does this main phase. You never know what a blue deck might be running. It's probably the safe time to do it.
Yep. Randomly has 1 Dissolve in his list and gets you, Lesson learned.
Draws 5, goes back up to 15, and now with a full grip. Jason with his 4th land now has all his spells online, and he gets to resolve 1, and he chooses Thassa.
Probably a good one.
Yeah, the only way that Martin can answer Thassa is Detention Sphere. At least once it's on the table, he can make Jason sacrifice it in theory, but that doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
So you see here, right now Thassa will just be a card selection engine with that Scry one.
Thoughtseize sees a couple Tidebinder Mages, a Cyclonic Rift, a Master of Waves.
Yeah, it's got and then a Bident of Thassa last
Bident.
card.
I can recognize that last card. It is the Bident, which is supposed to be really good in these matchups, but not with this type of draw.
It's probably not good on turn 9.
Yeah.
But it is very good in the matchup. It's one way that the deck can seal away its wins. It'll be an early start, and then it will draw 3.
Sodas from McDonald's. Please go out to claim
passing the turn in the scry. Alright.
Alright, so now the question is, what move does Ramias want to make next? He needs to find a way to get damage in. He has 3 creatures left in hand, looking into a lot of untapped lands from a control player.
Yeah. Frostburn Weird, alright.
Yeah, he decided to keep Frostburn Weird there. It looks like he may go right away. Nope, he's going to go ahead and yeah, he can only cast one. He casts Tidebinder Mage with no target.
Yep. Grizzly Bears.
Martin just draws yet another land. He has a
He's
slew of
kicking up.
verdicts.
Putting his feet up.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a pair of verdicts at least. I think 3 Supreme Verdicts.
Yeah, it looks like 3.
3 Supreme Verdicts, a Dissolve, and a Doomblade. So he doesn't actually have any way to close out the game yet, but...
Who needs win conditions?
Yeah.
Come on, let's play a little longer.
Alright, Jason taps out for Frostburn Weird, and that'll give him the devotion to blue, so Thassa now turns into a 5/5.
Yep.
As we see here, Thassa has been fixing Jason's draws as well as being a 5/5. Unblockable not as necessary in this matchup. Jason will make 5 blue off Nykthos and goes ahead and plays Tidebinder Mage. Or yeah.
Yep, and sending.
Yes, he's playing the extra mage so that just in case Martin has a Doomblade or something, that Thassa does not get deactivated.
Correct, but it's actually going to work against him because Martin can just eat an attack, untap, and Supreme Verdict.
Right. It will push some damage though. Martin will be forced to take 5, so he actually takes the full 7.
Yeah.
Drops down to 6. And now we are going to see one of those 3 Supreme Verdicts get fired off.
Ooh, and Detention Sphere.
Yeah, so Detention Sphere drawn by Martin will probably take care of that Thassa as well.
Looks like he's shy the 3rd white, so he's going to have to wait 1 turn. Oh, I'm sorry, nope, there's another pile of lands down there.
Yeah, he has the Detention Sphere, and he has just enough mana to leave up the Dissolve. So it takes care of Jason, all the permanents on Jason's board, and passes back. His draw for the turn is a Mutavault, which he makes on the board. Remaining hand is a Master of Waves and a Cyclonic Rift. So Rift,
not the best hand I've ever seen.
Rift can get him a Thassa for 1 turn if he can make, see how much he can make out of it. Master of Waves is a little underwhelming here. It's only going to make 1 Elemental token. But it still represents 4 power. So when Martin's at 6, he almost certainly needs to answer. And what I like here is how Martin's preserved his Doomblade so that now he's not threatened by the Mutavault.
Yeah. Very wise. Save the, the more versatile removal for the threats that are harder to deal with.
So he's just going to cash in another Supreme Verdict just to take care of Master of Waves.
And now it's just a matter of whenever Martin draws his Sphinx's Revelation, or Aetherling, or Elspeth, or Jace.
So he's drawing 2. He has 2 Elspeth, 1 Aetherling, the full 4 Revelations.
4 Revs and 4 Jace. So, a lot of cards.
A lot of live draws here. Mutavault's activated. I think he said, okay, it looks like we have a judge call here. My guess is that Jason said go to attacks, Martin said okay, and then Jason said activate.
Awkward.
For those of you who know, with the stack, if you say go to attack, then it's too late at that point. If you say go to combat, then we're okay.
Then we're in the start of combat
phase.
Yeah.
Right. So the attack is not going to go through. We'll see. So just, a lot of... I could see a judge ruling either way on this one. I think the intention's pretty clear.
Yeah, I agree. It was one of those things that just happens sometimes. And
I mean, if I'm Martin, I almost want to let it happen so that I can Doomblade the Mutavault.
I was thinking that too.
Like, just let him activate it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Alright, So he's allowed to go to attacks and not tap the mana, it seems.
Alright. That makes sense.
Yep, so he's just going to have a post-combat play. It's going to be Night Veil Spectre. That cannot be Doombladed, so Martin has to decide whether or not he wants to use the Supreme Verdict or the Dissolve on it.
I would imagine
The Verdict.
the verdict is the choice here. Dissolve answering more things.
Yeah, so remember, Martin does not actually have a way to close out the game yet, so he could still get top decked out of this game. He
That's
drew
true.
kind of an extra life there in Hero's Downfall. And he's going to go ahead and cash in the Supreme Verdict. Now, at this point, Supreme Verdict is just kind of a one-mana removal spell because Martin has to kill every single thing that Jason plays.
Right.
Like, holding it to get a 2-for-1 is probably not realistic. Alright, this time, Mutavault activated, going to combat. And Martin then will Doomblade it.
And the ever fearsome Judge's Familiar.
Yeah, this might be one of the few creatures that Martin will let stick around.
It's won 2 Pro Tours. How do you just let it chill?
Oh man, it's one of the last 2 Pro. Oh, that's really gross. It's one of the last 2 Pro Tours. Okay, yeah, that's true. Card's broken.
Yeah,
I mean,
too good. Ban it.
Wait, that's a good answer for it though.
Oh,
Jace.
that's pretty good.
He's gonna +1.
Yep, upstairs.
That'll be good. Land drawn by Jason.
Not as good as a Jace.
Pass back. Another Jace. And now Martin will pull away. You see Elspeth, Hero's Downfall.
All right.
And this is where all the meat of the deck was hiding. Martin's gonna go ahead and
I'm gonna choose to take this pile.
yeah, one of those files seems better than the other one. Martin, so he takes the free Hero's Downfall.
So you just jam Elspeth and
I would think so.
go to town.
He needed to just draw either Elspeth or Aetherling, and
Yep.
he's now done one of them.
And here she comes.
All right, Elspeth Sun's champion, ready to clean up the board here, starting by making it with a soldier army. Starts by making 3. And now Martin just has to sit back and let his planeswalkers win the game for him.
Yep. It's good to have help, you know?
Yeah, they make it very easy. You just, all right, guys, your turn.
Yeah, you guys are up. Clofen Raptor, not the best turn 15 draw.
And Jason's still fighting for it. Judge's Familiar goes to the dome.
I love it.
Martin goes down to 5. All right, I like this. I don't know. Nah, let's see if it works. That'd be sweet.
Well, if he knew about the Dissolve, I think it would be over. But he does have a plan involving Cyclonic Rift with Overload and getting a lethal attack in.
Yeah, 3 more tokens from Martin. That's actually a reasonable line to be playing to if you had that 7th land. To try to Cyclonic Rift Martin's team. The problem is that Jace, due to Jace, all your creatures have power 0 when they attack. It's like the Biden of Thassa is not going to draw a card.
But you can make all their...
You can buy a lot of time. You also get 2 Thassas back.
That's good.
Yep. He may try to end step, bounce the Detention Sphere to get a Thassa back. I think that's going to be his plan.
Yep.
Thassa will be a 5/5, make the team unblockable, swing lethal.
Yep.
Well, it'll be 1 short of lethal. Maybe swing 4 because of the Jace.
Oh.
It'll be so close. Elspeth makes 3
And
more.
yet not close at all.
I mean, the fact that Martin has a Dissolve means
Yeah.
that this line's not going to work. What I'm saying is that Jason's actually playing to a reasonable line here.
No, it is. I mean, you have to play to your outs, you know?
Yeah.
Give yourself a chance to win, no matter how unlikely. And far away on Raptor and Familiar gets sacrificed.
Alright.
That appears to be game.
Yeah, he does have the last land for the Cyclonic Rift. It's going to pass, so he's going to try to Cyclonic Rift here during Martin's attack step. That is...
Make an emblem.
Going to certainly get dissolved. Alright, and Martin shows the dissolve. So first game goes to Esper. Not how you'd normally think the matchup would play out. I don't think this gives like a good representation of the matchup yet.
Yeah.
You know, Jason's stuck on lands for so long. By the time he's making his threats, there was, you know, really nothing left.
It was already underneath Revelation for 4, was it? Something. Too
Yeah,
too
he
much.
never cast a Revelation. Did he? I don't believe.
I think he did, but
it was for a while.
either way,
Okay.
he was.
Yeah, it was very. Yeah, he
very
was
full on cards.
very far behind. But you did see one of the difficulties in the matchup, which is that Jason's early drops only had 1 power, as opposed to something like a red deck or a white deck of aggro that has a lot of 2/1s for 1.
Right.
Jason has 1/1s and 1/2s. So those first few turns before the Esper player gets up to 4 mana, Jason's not able to push as much damage as a lot of the aggro decks would be able to, which means he has to reach for a lot more of that damage.
Yeah, and with no direct damage, that's even harder. You definitely have to fit this pretty narrow stream of, the way that you're curving out.
But what Jason Ramias does have, which other decks don't have, is the potential to board in his own control cards in this matchup.
Ooh.
So in his sideboard, among other things, Jason has access to Gainsay, Aetherling, Dissolve, Negate, Ratchet Bomb, Jace, Architect of Thought.
That's kind of cool. Semi-transformational board. His
Yeah,
other cards
so-
are Claustrophobia, Domestication, and Rapid Hybridization too. So like, he can actually just board in 15 control cards in certain matchups.
Yeah, he can actually become a control deck.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Do you think that he does the Jace plan against this?
Well, my guess is that he just wants cards that are more high impact. The 1/1s for 1 don't seem particularly good. Obviously, cards like Gainsay come in, and if you have Aetherling in your board, it's probably for this matchup.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that Cloudfin Raptor is just too bad. Gainsay and Aetherling's definitely coming in. Dissolve probably coming in. Negate's probably coming in.
So the cards you board out, the question is how do you get all these things? I think cards like Cyclonic Rift, Biden to Thassa, all become worse.
I think
Maybe
Biden is still good. Rift is definitely worse.
Biden's probably still
Rapid Hybridization is obviously coming out. Tidebinder Mage can come out. This is just a dude.
Yeah, my guess is that before Tidebinder comes out, the Cloudfin Raptors just come
Yeah,
out. Because
Cloudfin Raptor's my first cut.
Yeah.
I agree that it is definitely not ideal here.
How do you feel about Judge's Familiar in the matchup then?
Not a huge fan.
It has 1/2 Pro Tours.
It's true. It's really, really good at Pro Tours. I think that it's still probably fine. You can pressure him enough to get Judge's Familiar to a point where it's going to have added utility against, like, Revelation.
Yeah, we did see last game the Judge's Familiar allowed him to attack into an Azorius Charm.
Yeah, on 2 mana open. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it has little uses like that. Plus, it's just like I don't think you can cut all your 1-drops, and Cloudfin Raptors are certainly worse.
Well,
So, I think that I would cut the Raptors. You can maybe shave a Familiar, and then the Hybridization definitely comes out, and probably the Cyclonic Rifts as well.
what really drives home in this matchup, though, is so you look at the sideboard cards that Jason can board in. He can board in Gainsay, he can board in Negate, he can board in Dissolve. The card that's really good against him that none of those deal with still is Supreme Verdict.
Right.
Which, when you ask players who are playing the mono blue devotion deck, how to attack the deck, Supreme Verdict was kind of the across-the-board answer.
Yeah, it is definitely the top of the list for the ways to deal with the Mono Blue Devotion deck. You can't even Judge's Familiar it.
You
That's
can't
how good it is.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and I think that a normal game is going to involve, besides stumbling on mana, but a normal game of a normal curve is going to be kind of Supreme Verdict or no, Verdict or bust.
Yeah, and oftentimes we saw that when Esper decks were playing against mono red decks, they
Yes.
were definitely in that Verdict or bust mode.
Absolutely.
Cards like Thassa seem to give the mono blue deck a little more play, but
They give it more resiliency, but this deck also has a lot less reach of those other decks. So there's a bit of a give and take there, but I definitely think that it's very possible that we can see, a couple of Verdict or bust spots.
All right, so turn 1 island from Jason Ramias. He does not have a Cloudfin Raptor or Judge's Familiar, so the action's going to start on turn 2. And for Martin, it's going to be a Temple of Silence into play tapped.
Scry to the top. And... wow, no 2-drop either, alright.
So it looks like he's taking a more controlling route. We see he kept a hand with no 2-drop, but he did have a negate in his hand.
Alright.
We're going to see if Jason chooses to negate that Thoughtseize. I think he'd be protecting a Thassa if he did.
Looks like they are marking the life total, so it must be resolving.
Right, yeah. If you write 18 on your score pad, you can't then counter.
It has resolved, yes.
So we see Thassa, Bident of Thassa, negate, dissolve, Jace, and a land. I think I really would have liked the negate here, to cast the negate.
I agree. Because you can negate untap Thassa.
Yeah, that seems excellent. As it is, Thassa's going to hit the graveyard. And that's huge for Martin. So
yeah.
Go ahead and play Temple of Deceit, keeping it on top. Passes back. There's very little pressure from Jason right now. As right now, Martin can just play untapped lands and say go, and they get into this game where Jason has to resolve something, but he's going to have to plow into counter spells.
Yep. And his own counter spells just don't do anything if that's the game that Martin's playing.
Right. So Martin does have what it looks to be a Gainsay in his hand, which obviously is great in this matchup when the opponent's spells are all blue.
Yes.
Places third Temple, scries to the bottom, and Gainsay will be played on the Jace Architect.
And Dracunio rejoices.
A big fan of Gainsay.
Yeah.
At this point, Martin's just developing his board state. He's still at 18. He's managed to keep the board clean through turn 4. And we will see then a Thoughtseize as he continues to pick apart Jason's hand. And he finds it is the same as when he left it, just with more lands in it. So it'll be Dissolve, Bident, or Negate that he gets to keep.
Probably just take Bident, right? The counters
don't seem to matter.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Martin agrees.
The danger is that if Jason gets to resolve a Bident, then every creature becomes must-kill for Martin.
Yeah. Which you don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah. And a creature, and that would have been a really awkward situation against a Mutavault. And both players continue to trade lands. Jason made a Mutavault, so now he'll be able to get some damage across. Martin plays Watery Grave tapped, passes back.
Jason's a pretty good draw for Jason.
Yeah, he's drawing Jace Architect of Thought. Gotta be questioning whether or not that card's gonna resolve. He's gonna go ahead and try for it. And it looks like it's gonna get through. There's a Hero's Downfall in Martin's hand, so it's just gonna be a fancy divination. But it's going to get what is most likely a Night Veil Spectre.
Yeah. Spectre Verse.
Yeah, if you're Jason, you probably still take the Spectre here. Yeah, the extra land doesn't matter, and Spectre's the better creature.
Yep.
He does just that. He did not attack with Mutavault that turn.
Leaving up Negate.
Yep, choosing instead to leave up Negate.
An interesting choice. Protect the Jace.
Yeah, it's protecting the Jace. I think he wants to protect the Jace. He really doesn't want Martin to resolve a Revelation.
Yep.
This is really interesting. It's like, imagine you're playing against a white Weenie deck that suddenly had Negate.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
It's a lot harder to play against.
Yeah. And
there's the MVP.
There's the MVP. The Pro Tour champion.
Yeah. So you just plus Jace? Just let it hang
How
around?
greedy are you? Do you believe, so if you're plusing Jace, you're thinking that you might be able to get a third -2 off it, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean...
I'm an optimist,
That's so optimistic. I like it. I don't know.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
greed is good.
Okay. So we're gonna see if we can get 3 activations off this Jace.
Greed is good.
And Doomblade drawn by Martin.
Well, that's something for the Mutavault. Oh, he also has Far and Away. That's not too bad either.
He does have Far Away, so if Jason commits a second creature to the board, he's going to get the chance to Far Away. And Martin knows he has a creature in the form of Night Veil Spectre.
Start the turn with Jace. I like it.
Yeah, so we see Nightveil Spectre, Aetherling, and an island. And Aetherling goes by itself. That's a huge step for Martin.
Yeah, that's a big score.
This is really interesting watching how the Mono Blue Devotion deck was able... He had... On turn 4, Jason had no permanents on the battlefield and Martin at 18, but is now pulling back into this game.
It's the power of the Planeswalker.
So what do you think about this, almost the Esper? This to me is like a story about the Esper control deck. He's going to go ahead far away. He's going to draw out a negate.
All right, interesting spot to fight.
I'm surprised that he fought over that one because he could have just gotten rid of the Mutavault there.
Yeah. Although I suppose you want the Mutavault for the extra mana for Aetherling.
That's true. If you're on a plan to cast Aetherling, you definitely want that there. It's going to be harder now as Martin drew another Gainsay on that turn.
Attention players. If you purchase a French for one of the artists,
Alright, so Martin was looking pretty far ahead. Now it's sort of on him to stabilize from here.
Yeah, it turns out that Jason's not going to get the extra activation off Jace, but he does get 2 activations and force Martin to use a removal spell.
Yes.
So that plus
value.
was
Greed
a
is
lot
good.
of value.
Greed is good.
Yeah, Martin Heroes downfalls it. And Martin actually running out of cards here. He's getting out card drawn by the aggro deck.
Not a good spot to be in.
Alright, sends 3. Martin's going to use the Doomblade on the Mutavault, it looks like. And that'll get hit with a Dissolve.
Wow, this is some counter slivers style aggression.
Yeah, Jason keeping the card on top. Martin would have loved to have Doombladed the Nightveil Spectre, but it's also a black card.
Haha, you don't get that.
Yeah, so while Jason can't cast the Sphinx's Revelation, it means Martin doesn't draw it.
He could actually nick those, naming white with Judge's Familiar, and then cast it off of that.
That is, oh man. And he does have the 1 Nykthos in the deck.
I go deep.
That would be sweet.
Alright, so Martin, with that 1 card in hand being the Gainsay that has Aetherling written on it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, just being beaten down.
Yeah, and Nightveil Spectre's really powerful here. So Martin takes another 5 and drops to 4. And he hits Detention Sphere.
Alright.
And the best part is because Martin knows about the Aetherling, he has to let spells like Thassa, well, can't let Thassa resolve, so he can counter that. But now the coast is clear for Aetherling.
And that is game.
That is game. Jason Ramias takes game 2.
I don't want to call it a comeback.
I'd say it's a comeback.
That was a pretty big comeback.
Yeah, that's a board state which most of the time... So
it looked it looked borderline hopeless.
So does that say? Is that the strength of the mono blue deck or the weakness of the Esper deck that happened there?
I want to say it's the strength of the mono blue deck coupled with like pretty bad draws, pretty mediocre draws from the Esper deck. Yeah. Like it wasn't, Revelation and Elspeth. It was like some lands and another Thoughtseize.
Wait, he never actually drew a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Of any sort.
Yeah, if he just draws like Jace or Divination or anything like that, then he can really start snowballing. But, until that happens, the mono blue deck still has the door open that they can make a big comeback, like exactly what we saw. So now, back on the play for Martin, what's your game plan?
Well, your game plan, if you're Martin here, I think you chalk that game up to bad luck. That was your game plan.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Your game plan's not waterproof. But that's what you want your games to look like, and you hope that if you play another game like that you'll get to win.
I agree. I think that, any deviations from that is going to be more disastrous than just hoping that you draw a Divination next
That was
time.
what they got to the point where both players had 6 lands in play and were at 20 and were top decking against each other. Like Esper Control will play that any day against someone.
Yeah, that's a solid, 85% game state.
Yeah. And I've said before, when you compare Esper decks post-rotation to one's pre-rotation, it's games like that where I think the Esper player really misses having Think Twice in their list.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, it was that never happened because you always had all these think choices.
Yeah, the think twice smoothing out your draw, both in the early game, making sure that you made your land drops, and later on making it so that you had all these extra chances at your big cards, at your relevant cards, at your revelations. It was a small and subtle effect, but players that were well in tune with their deck and how they were drawing can definitely feel the difference.
All right, the players are set up for Game 3. You're about to get this one underway. Martin, Goldman, Kirst is on the play. Looks like he is choosing to keep. Both players have kept, and Martin will lead off on a Temple as he has in the previous 2 games. This time he has some late game action in Elspeth and Sphinx's Revelation in the opener. He also has a Supreme Verdict, but he has no cheap removal. So it's like cheap removal and lands seems to be the things he's going to look for.
Yeah, and I mean, this hand on the draw would probably almost be a mulligan, but on the play, I think you're able to get to Verdict in time, not under too much pressure. And the extra scry lands definitely help a lot too.
So it looks like Martin used that first Temple to keep a second Temple on top. He then played the second Temple on turn 2 and shipped to the bottom with his scry. Jason did have a 1-drop in Judge's Familiar. It looks like he might have a pair of Judge's Familiars.
Ooh.
It's a lot of strength. I don't know.
It's a lot of owls.
Oh, that card.
What's the name of the owl from Legend of Zelda?
Oh, man.
Gobera? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always,
He's like that. He's
whenever
like
you
that guy.
advance the storyline, he'd like fly by and say,
Yeah,
hoot hoot, and then tell you things.
Yeah, and slow down the game and annoy you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that guy. That's what Judge's Familiar is.
Third land in play is a third Temple from Martin.
All right. This is the counter slivers draw.
So
you got threats, you got backup, and you got disruption.
Do you really have to Supreme Verdict 2 Judges Familiar? Because this, oh my gosh.
He doesn't even hesitate. Look at that.
Makes me, oh, gross.
Look at that. He didn't even hesitate. He knew.
Why? Oh.
He's like, yep, this is happening now.
And that was the point. Jason resolves Jace. And Judge's Familiar applies that pressure because to counter magic, which is so strong.
Yes.
We see Jace there. 2 Tidebinder Mages and a land. Jason takes the pair of Tidebinder Mages, ships the land.
It's 2 cards or more than 1 card.
Yeah, it's an interesting split from Martin.
Yeah.
He's going to take this opportunity while Jason's tapped out to go ahead and shock. He's going to shock and detention sphere the Jace, leaving up a Gainsay for the next play.
Pretty good turn 5.
Pass back. Absolutely, Martin's been able to, he's keeping Jason's board under control, but he's not really keeping Jason's hand under control.
Yeah.
And Jason still has, what, a 5-card hand, I believe?
Yeah, well, he got that, 3-for-1 off of his Jace.
Correction, a 6-card hand.
3-for-1 off of a Jace was on the draw. And, even though he got 2-for-1, it was 2 Judges Familiars.
It looks like he's going to go for a post-combat Nightveil Spectre. That's a pretty aggressive play. He could have done that pre-combat and had the Gainsay up. Instead, he played it post-combat and he's going to get it countered.
Yeah.
And 6th land for Martin. This is the strength of Elspeth is it lets blue decks become aggressive now.
Yes.
He's going to tap out for a turn 6 Elspeth.
The proactive win condition is a very underrated thing in the modern era of Magic.
Yeah, it used to be that people, you'd say, why would you play this in your control deck? Oh, I suppose it's a kill spell.
Right.
But
now there's such a versatility of threats and different weird things that can happen in any given game, and every card is individually so powerful. Sometimes you just need to get them dead, And Elspeth is good at doing exactly that.
And I think right now, that J split, if you go back, let's go back to that J split of 2 Tidebinder Mages versus an island.
You want to take the land?
Well, you tell me. I kind of want to take the land here. I don't think 2 Tidebinder Mages really did much.
Yeah, that's true.
But a land here would be sweet.
Land to get to Aetherling as
Well, if you played a land, you could play some other spell here, some other 2-drop, and then you'd still have like a Mutavault in case he far-aways you. There'd be, I don't know, just want more lands.
Yeah, lands are sweet.
But he doesn't.
Tidebinder Mages are not.
Yeah, he does get to resolve the Nightveil Spectre. Martin crashes in for 3, knocking Jason down to 17 and makes 3 more tokens. His hand is now far away, Detention Sphere, and Sphinx's Revelation. And Elspeth Sun's champion, is shown to be a pretty good game closer against aggro decks.
No kidding. Aggro and control alike.
All right, Nightvale Spectre is going to go ahead and hit a detention sphere off the top of Martin's deck.
All right. So what's your way to win against an Elspeth?
Well, that's one of the difficulties. I'm not sure.
I imagine Master is involved.
Well, he plays Ratchet Bombs in his 75. I don't know if they'd come in.
Probably not.
They could, because he might be thinking, hey, detention sphere is a thing. Like, I guess it's non-zero, these boarded in Ratchet Bombs.
Yeah.
Now, far and away by Martin draws out the Gainsay from Ramias. But Elspeth continues to grow an army. This time Martin drew Dissolve for the turn.
That might be the nail in the coffin.
All right, detention sphere on Frostburn Weird. No, sorry, no, on Nightvale Spectre. That first sphere was not on the detention.
No, the Spectre had the sphere,
not the
vice
sphere had
versa.
the Spectre. Okay.
So we do see another Elspeth activation.
Now the sphere has the Spectre, which has the sphere.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Costello. So, where is Jason's out? That is basically what the game is.
I think it has to do with drawing his Ratchet Bomb that's in the sideboard, which may or may not be in the sideboard. I mean, he doesn't have a board sweeper outside of that. And he doesn't have a way to generate. I guess what you said is it's Master of Waves, right? He has to have enough blockers, but
now his devotion isn't even high enough that Master does anything.
Well, and Martin's about to make an emblem.
And Martin has a Dissolve in hand.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is this emblem is going to be pretty game over.
Pretty lethal.
Yeah.
Pretty Jason's dead.
If you haven't seen one in play yet, it's really hard to beat.
Well, the problem with seeing one in play is that people just scoop too fast, so you don't get to...
Yeah. It's in one of those other creative ways of reading win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen an Elspeth emblem in play because you always just win when you make one.
Yeah, it's always just lethal that turn.
All right, and it is lethal that turn. Martin Goldman Kirst, 2-1 defeats Jason Ramias.
In what is sort of the quintessential matchup of this weekend, right? Because this is the breakout Pro Tour deck in Mono Blue Devotion, and then this sort of next evolution of the metagame in Esper
It's the
Control.
answer to it, right?
Right. And we see exactly that. Although the games were a little abnormal, we do see the results as expected.
Yeah, the third game in particular is interesting because it looked like if we were setting up for that land go late game, that I actually think that Jason's hand was really well situated for that.